here we are with Doug Zubradt one more time. And Doug just got back from a trip where he was towing his Maverick. He used this new camera we're going to talk about, and he was in an LTV rally that Pagosa sponsored. And so we're going to get into all of this. But first of all, Doug, how did your trip go? Where'd you go?
Gosh, it was 7 weeks. And so we made our way to Medora as our first stop for the LTV rally. And then we had to do a little backtrack to Sioux Falls, South Dakota, because the air conditioner quit working. And I had to get it done.
The rooftop air or the Sprinter air?
The house air, yeah.
Oh, no. No.
And I was 18 days left of warranty. So I had to get it diagnosed. And so the closest place for me to get that diagnosed was back in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, at the dealer where I bought the LTV.
Oh, my word.
So we went back there, and we left one day early from the rally. We got back to Sioux Falls, South Dakota on a Friday, got it diagnosed and replaced by 11:15 in the morning, that Friday morning.
Oh,
so
my word.
We lucked out.
That is crazy. In fact, there are so many stories of people going on long trips and something happening. You know, Lori Raby, who always does, she just got back from an 8-month trip, but her first 6-month trip where her LTV, something with the oil, and, you know, she was stuck on top of a mountain. And so, and then this, and then, so, yeah, I mean, it can be a nightmare, but so glad to hear that you that you got yours taken care of. And so, was it just a simple repair? What was it?
It's a replacement.
Oh, well, there you go.
So I have a brand new Dometic Penguin 2 air conditioner on top, and
with probably another warranty.
I doubt it. I would be surprised. Maybe they will. Maybe they'll extend it if I ever have a problem.
They better. So, yeah. Well, that's good. So that works. Now then, you towed the Maverick for 7 weeks all over the country. How was that experience?
It worked really well. Yeah, it was really awesome. So that trip was a bit over 5,600 miles over 7 weeks. And we probably had about another 1,500 miles towing it before the trip. So we're up well over 7,000 miles now towing the Maverick. And it's been beautiful. It's worked out really well.
That is fantastic. So if you're watching this without watching Doug's first video, he got a Maverick, he set it up to tow, and we talked about that experience. And, you know, we bought a Maverick in order to tow behind our leisure travel van, then decided after we got our Airstream, decided not to tow that. So I wanted to get a first-person account of what that experience is like. So after 7,000 miles of towing a Ford Maverick, it's been great, huh?
It has. It's been flawless. And it is, when we go and set for several days in a row, say we're at Yellowstone for 5 nights, and when we go set like that, it's awesome just being able to unhook, go into town to get groceries, and it's much better, I believe, driving that vehicle in these national parks with the steep inclines, rough terrain, all that, than running the LTV.
Oh, 100%, especially in national parks. And so now we still have our Maverick. We love our Maverick, and it drives like a car. So, and it's small, easy to park. That's why I'm still convinced that is, if you're going to tow a vehicle, if you can get a Maverick, get a Maverick. You agree?
I agree. I've had 2 different vehicles, and this is by far the most functional and the most utilitarian vehicle.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Now, did you notice, what was your mileage now towing that whole trip?
Well, basically, I went from a range of 15 and a half to about 12 and a half.
Okay.
The 12 and a half, I was forced to buy, and I don't know what level of biodiesel it was, but it had that old B5 to B20 sticker on the pump, and I needed fuel.
Yeah.
And so I filled it up, but I ran it out that one day. I got 12.6 with that tank.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and then immediately filled it up, and the next tank I was doing over 15 again,
Okay, with towing the Maverick. So if
towing
you
the Maverick.
with good fuel, 15 mile. I mean, you cannot beat that.
No,
You can't
absolutely.
beat that.
I was shocked, frankly.
Yeah, and and for people who are waiting on an LTV or thinking about an LTV, typically if you're like me, I normally get about, I mean, on 17 to 19 if you're not towing. So is what I generally get.
And the good news is, for people that are willing to wait for the new chassis, the the fuel mileage and the sound level in the cab is even better.
Yeah, I got a real world account of from somebody at LTV, and they were getting 19 to 21, I think is what they were saying in the new
Exactly.
chassis. So, yeah, and right now diesel prices are back up. Almost $4 a gallon down here in Texas. That means they're going to be higher everywhere else.
That's right.
Yeah. And did you see that? How about fuel prices while you were out west?
Oh gosh, the most I paid was $5, $4.99.
Okay.
And that
Yeah.
was at St. Mary's, right at the edge of Glacier National Park.
Yeah.
And so I
Well,
was captive.
yeah. And still with an LTV, I mean, you're getting 15 towing. I mean, you still cannot complain in an RV at all. Those big diesel pushers that get 7 and 8,
Absolutely.
that would not be a fun fill up.
No, I've lived that life before.
Yeah. Okay. So now after our last conversation, I had this camera that FXT company had sent me in order to review. And after we decided not to tow the Maverick, I sent that camera to you to review. So let's talk about that. You hooked it up. And obviously, if you're towing a vehicle, you definitely want to look at it and see what's going on back there. And so,
Absolutely.
all
Talk
right.
about wonderful peace of mind.
Yes, for sure. Okay, so you sent me some pictures of the install and everything. I do believe we haven't talked about this in a little bit because you wanted to wait till you got back for your trip to do this. But let's kind of go through the install. How was it installing, and how did you install it?
No, that's great. It was very simple, truly. My biggest concern or question was, where was I going to get the power to run the rear camera? And I could have gone to the tail light, but then I would have to always have my headlights on manually.
Mm-hmm.
And I wasn't sure I wanted to do that. So what I did is I actually went into the water compartment and used the power feed to the compartment light, the LED compartment light, and I used the T-splices that were provided in the kit, and that's where I hooked it up. The cabling is the same gauge for those lights in the compartments as the cable that comes for the camera, and so it works seamlessly. So
Wow.
all I do is I separated the wires in the water compartment, and then put those T-splices on, and then I had power to the camera. All I have to do is switch the compartment light, the red light that's by your door when you come into the house. All you do is switch that baby on, and I've got power to the camera.
Oh, that's genius. I've never heard anybody doing that. And that now you're going to have probably 5,000 people asking exactly how to do it, because I think that's probably the smartest thing I've ever heard.
Yeah. So there are pictures there showing which compartment panel I took off to get to the wires and how I routed the cable through that water compartment and then back up to the camera.
Okay, perfect. Now I'll be running these pictures through as I edit this. I'll run those pictures through so everybody can see. Now then the camera was actually on if I remember correctly, on a license plate bracket. Is that what you did, or did you mount it separately to your?
So the kit comes with two cameras, and you can actually do a split screen. It's actually designed for a trailer setup. One of them is the license plate camera that I did not use, and the other is the camera that mounts on the back of up high on a trailer That's the camera I used that has a bracket and it's a bigger camera. That's the camera I used, and I used it on that beveled edge of the recess in the back cap of the LTV.
Okay. And so I get constantly people asking about what camera and things like that. And of course, I've been using a wireless solution I got at Costco like the day I got the LTV, basically, which I don't even actually use anymore. We're not towing, and I've got a good gauge of, when I pass a car or something, when to get back in the other lane. So I actually don't use a camera. If I were towing, 100% I would use a camera. So it came with a 7-inch monitor, I believe. So is everything working? Did you have to run a wire underneath the coach? What'd you do?
No, not at all. That's why I wanted to solve the power problem in the back of the coach, because we don't have to run an RF cable along with the power feed the whole distance of the coach. That's the beauty of the wireless.
Oh yeah, so it's all wireless. So it just transmits from the back up to the front.
That's right.
Okay, and ever get any interruptions or anything like that?
No interruptions. Simply, I think there's a slight lag, because as you can kind of gauge in your mirror where cars are passing you, I think there might be, say, a second, maybe a second and a half lag.
Okay.
So
you just need to be careful then to understand then, where everything is if there's a slight lag.
And when you're towing something like that, you're not going to be making those, or hopefully you're not making those split-second decisions. You're planning your moves well in advance, and you know where people are. You're still using your mirrors, both mirrors on each side, and you're using the camera.
Okay. So I'm taking it it's a thumbs up on the FXT camera then.
It's beautiful. I thought it was a great peace of mind.
Perfect. And I'll put a link to that down below. And again, they did send that to me for free to test out. And then, of course, which was great because you got it for free to test out. So
that's right.
I hope that worked out good. All right. So now then, let's talk about the LTV rally you were just at. And in fact, Leisure Travel Vans, they actually reached out to me recently and said, hey, I'd love for you to talk more about the rallies because they are so awesome for LTV owners. So let's talk about that rally.
Oh, great.
Yeah. So which one did you go to?
Medora, North Dakota. So it's the Midwest.
Okay. The Midwest. And that's the one you're a member of. Are you a member of multiple or just that one?
Just that one right now.
Yeah. And I'm a member of 3 of them. So Florida, Texas, Oklahoma, Texoma is what they call it. And then, of course, Rocky Mountain. So,
okay.
But anyway, yeah, join as many as you can. They don't care where you live. They just, happy to have you. That's what's great about it. And so tell me about the rally. How many folks were there?
About 50 rigs.
Okay, cool. And Pagosa, our company, sponsored that. And so I think
Thank you, by the way.
Oh yeah, you absolutely. So I think they gave away some cutting boards and some stuff like that.
That's right.
Cool.
That's right. And we've got the coupons too.
Oh yeah. So there you go. Yeah, I love it. So every time I go to an LTV rally, they always do a really good job of having some really good educational classes, whether it be upgrades for your LTV or even having somebody from a service department come in, talk about maintenance. Did you have any of those?
We did. A lot of them were group members. And then Don Clausen was there from the factory with a demo unit. And that's the new chassis that I saw.
Okay. Did you notice anything in particularly different about it?
Not structurally.
Okay.
But the word is it is really, really quiet when you're driving, much quieter than even our chassis. We have the same chassis.
Yeah.
And it also gets much better fuel economy. But the real kicker on this is they're going to this all Truma system for air conditioning.
Yeah.
Wow, does that work nice? The only downside to it is that you don't have a heat pump option on it. So
Mm-hmm.
you have Truma heater, Truma hot water, and Truma AC. And that air conditioner is something else.
Yeah, honestly, I don't think that's as big. I mean, you may, but we camp a lot in Colorado, where obviously it gets cold at night, and I very rarely find myself in that sweet spot where the heat pump is actually adequate. Meaning, it can't be below, I think, 42 degrees. It won't work. And then anything above it, I'm kind of fine. I'm kind of like sleeping cool in the coach anyway. So we'll
Yeah,
just use the furnace. So I don't particularly mind it not having one. But I will say that I've talked to some people who have it, and I mean, it is head and shoulders above our, my original Dometic and your brand new Dometic.
that's right.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's and you can run the air conditioner off of 20 amp without a soft start, is
yeah,
my understanding.
yeah. That's great. We actually we did a battery install, a Lithionics install for somebody with a Truma who still wanted a soft start, and we got and it is a little trouble because they're so much smaller. But
Mhm.
with the not the micro air is larger, so you have to use a soft start RV, and we're able to place it in there, find a spot for it, and got a soft start in it, which is always a good thing, especially because they were going to run their air conditioner off of their lithium battery, their Lithionics batteries.
Oh, sure. Yeah,
So it's a good idea to get a soft start. But yes, I have heard that you can that thing will not spike as much, and you can on a 20 amp. That you're probably not going to blow that breaker, which is fantastic.
yeah.
But if you're running off of your batteries and your inverter, I'd still probably say get one. Just so you don't have any issues while you're out boondocking. That's not the time to have it.
That's right.
For sure, for sure. So after everything is said and done, the camera works great. Your new air conditioner works great, and the Maverick is towing. Now then, if you want to see Doug's setup, and I want to kind of recap your setup again for towing the Maverick, but I'll link that video up here somewhere to where you can go and watch my first interview with Doug. But remind us again, what setup do you have to tow the Maverick?
Sure. It's a Blue Ox base plate and tow bar. It's the lightest one I could find. And with the tow bar and the base plate and the cover that I put on the Maverick, which is a hard aluminum cover on the bed, fully loaded, fully fueled, I ran across the scale at 4,100 pounds even.
Nice.
And I did that right before this trip just to see where I was.
That's fantastic, because I think at 4,200 is kind of that. Okay, that is if your LTV is loaded to its full, then basically you only have 4,200 to a total to tow behind it. So if you're loaded in your Maverick, and then of course you can put stuff in there that you don't want to keep in your LTV, you're going to be completely fine weight wise, which
Indeed.
And have a utilitarian vehicle, and not necessarily like some people could pull Mini Coopers and things like that, which are obviously going to probably be a little bit easier on the gas mileage and not as heavy, but you can't store anything that much. My friend Gary, he pulls a Mini Cooper behind his, so you may comment down below what all he carries in it. But anyway, so I think that's fantastic. So is there anything else you'd like to add, Doug, as far as camera, towing, anything like that?
No, I was going to say the other piece that I have in terms of that tow setup is the auxiliary brake system is RVI3 brake system, which is a wireless brake system, uses RF. And there's special considerations in the setup that you have to account for because it has an electric braking system rather than a hydraulic braking system as most vehicles have.
Yeah.
But it has the flexibility. If you call RVI3, they will give you the proper parameters to set that up in a manual setup situation.
Oh, okay. Because you actually added a 12-volt plug on yours, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, I remember that. So there may be a little more setup if you're going to use the RVI, which is great because it's just kind of a permanent installation. Whereas those big Patriots, those giant things that have the little R, So, I mean, yours is much easier day to day, correct?
You still have a module that you have to take in and out, but it's very light, very simple. It's not quite as cumbersome as the Patriots.
I gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then the other really big piece, and I just saw something about this probably within the last month or month and a half on Facebook group, is that I have a charge line to the chassis battery on the Maverick. And I've run into people, I've heard people having problems with the Escape, not having a charge line hooked up. They're draining their batteries because they're having to use that battery power for the braking and for the lights and that sort of thing.
Yeah, I've heard that is a big thing, and in order to not do that, you have to stop every so often and start the engine, and let the alternator charge the batteries back up. So what you have is basically you don't have to worry about that. Your Maverick's going to start no matter how long you tow, right?
That's right. That's exactly right. And gosh, 49 days and 5,600 miles worth, and we didn't have a single problem.
Yeah. Oh, that's fantastic. I love to hear that. Well, all right. Well, if people have questions, is it okay if they message in here and I can shoot them to you or something and you can answer?
Sure. Absolutely. No problem. The only thing I would say is, when you mount that camera on the back of the LTV in the fiberglass, make sure you drill some pilot holes, and start small and work up so you don't tear everything up. And that's what the tape in some of those pictures are. That's what that's for, is to try to not mar the finish of the LTV.
Yes. And what's the old saying, measure twice, cut once?
Absolutely.
Yeah, that big fiberglass cap you don't want to mess up on, I would imagine. So
yeah, that was the most intimidating part of the install.
Oh, I would imagine so. I don't know that I could have done it myself, because I've been so nervous I probably would have messed it up. So
yeah, indeed.
Yeah. Okay. Well, cool, Doug. Well, thanks for jumping back on here. So glad that camera worked out for you. And again, if you want to take a look at that camera, it's the FXT. Got it right here, FX12F9. I'll put a link to that down there. And the company was nice enough to send it over. So I am glad that it's getting good use and monitoring that Maverick while you are driving. So that's fantastic. Anything else to add, Doug?
I don't think so.
All right. Well, thanks for the second interview here. That's fantastic. So
you're more than welcome.
Yeah. All right. So if you've got a question for Doug, actually you can put it in the comments down below, and then I'm assuming you could even answer it there, couldn't you? If it's,
sure.
I don't know how many you want to answer. Sometimes it can get kind of overwhelming. But anyway, so put your comments down below. Then Doug or myself will check that every once in a while and see if we can answer those for you. But with that being said, Doug, thanks for jumping on here, and we will see you next time.
Sounds good, Brandon. Take care.
All right, Doug. Thanks a million.